Yes, people just tuning in. That was Rayen with good intentions. I'm here with the talented person herself. How we doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No,
It's lots of fun.
Pleasure. Welcome to the Club of Vibes. Welcome to Voices. How's your year started?
It's been pretty hectic, to be honest. Trying to release an EP is quite a lot of work, but It's been so good. I've been very overwhelmed with the support so far. So yeah, Amazing. It's been really cool.
Amazing. So new EP. Is it like debut EP?
Yeah, it's the first ever EP that I've dropped.
And in terms of how long that's been in the works, has that been a long time, or have you just woke up one day and was like, yep, let's get working?
A bit of a mix. I mean, I can't lie, it has been 2 years in the making. The song that we're going to play, I made it in April last year, April 2 years ago. So that's a long time. But I think these kind of things just take time, and also like most independent artists, I've got a full-time job. So trying to manage that with also going to the studio on the time that you have, you end up spending so much time working on these kind of things. But yeah.
And talking about time, and like I said, just off air, we've never met. So I don't really know your story. I've done a bit of research, but I don't know you that well. So how did music start for you? How did it all start?
Oh God. Well, I mean, so I'm half Chilean, half English, and my family came to the UK in the 70s because of Pinochet, if anyone listening knows about that. So my tata, my abuelo, he was always super into Latin American music, played in lots of bands. And growing up, I kind of was surrounded by very traditional Latin American music from him. And I remember I could always sing, but he always wanted me to sing in front of him, and I would always be super embarrassed. And then I think when I turned 13, I just did some talent show and sang, and that was kind of the start of it. I always did drama actually. I went to stage school and stuff when I was younger, which is a bit mad. And then from there I was just all right, I'll sing on stage, and then did a bit more singing elsewhere. But I'm quite shy, on stage, just singing. Acting, absolutely fine, but singing, not so much. Yeah.
So I guess a lot of people would make the thing, the comparison that because you've done that in your early life, you'd find it easy being on stage. But it's interesting that you said that, because it is a different art form, I guess.
100%, yeah. You're bringing a sense of you, you're very vulnerable on stage when you're singing things that you've written about your personal life, whereas when you're acting, you're playing a character that's not you, so it's very different, I guess.
That is interesting. Fair enough.
Not that I do any acting anymore, but do you know what? I actually kind of miss it. Yeah, I honestly, I miss it a lot. It was a big part of my life, and when I was 10 to 18.
You could do a musical.
Quite a long time.
Merge both worlds.
Yeah, but I can't dance, so I'm not triple threat.
Fair enough. And I can hear an accent.
Yes.
So yes, where are we from? Is it Yorkshire?
Technically, yes. I'm born and raised in Manchester, Trafford United, and then I moved to West Yorkshire when I was about 10, and then went to high school in Yorkshire. So it's a mixture of both. But I probably would say I'm from Hebden Bridge, which is in Yorkshire.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And was the move into London thing for music, or was it just because? Whatever reason.
Just because of uni, yeah. I went to Goldsmiths Uni in South East. Yeah. And did English and drama, and the drama side was just too intense for me, so I ended up swapping it. The practical side for music.
Okay.
So I ended up having a degree which is English, drama, and music. But I think I'm still the only person that's been able to do that. I kind of
crazy.
I talked my way around it in the end, but it was a lot of fun having to do the music stuff as well.
Yeah. Have you found sort of any challenges being not obviously you're a London-based musician now, but you're not from London.
Yeah.
And I think maybe not as much now, but back in the day, there was definitely a bit of a divide from artists that are not London trying to break it into the industry.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's still the case now, or do you feel no, we're much more kind of interlinked with other parts of the country?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think the biggest challenge that I've found is that a lot of people that are from London have that massive leg up of be having houses in London and living at their parents' house, and then that means that they don't have to pay rent, and then they can spend money being a musician. And I don't have that. I've lived in London for 6 years now. I'm financially independent since I was 18, all that kind of stuff. So I have found that part difficult, to be honest. And I think people don't realize it as well, how lucky you are. Even if you're not from a wealthy upbringing, if you have a council flat in London and you can live in that with your parents and not pay rent, like you're hella lucky. Like it's very expensive here.
That is very true. My other question that's kind of related to that is being part Latina and not living in London, because all I know is the Latin community in London, really. I don't really know about other communities. I know there's other spots, like I'm half Irish, so huge Brazilian community in Cork where my dad's from. But
that's cool.
Did you feel like your connection to your Latin culture, was that mainly through your parents, or did you go to Chile a lot? Or am I completely mistaken and there is a community in Yorkshire or Manchester?
There is no community. And if I'm honest, like I'm very, very whitewashed, or at least I was to the point where like, I don't know, I didn't really have that many Latin friends or like Latin people around me growing up. Also, my family moved back to Chile when I was 7. So I had this whole like, being a bit confused about who I was. I felt like, although I'm half white, it was like I was never like white enough for that community, and then also never really like accepted within like other communities because I was always different. Lots of sort of like random little Mexican jokes flying around that I was just like, great, well. And I think I didn't really like understand like how annoying and like upsetting that was for me until I moved to London, and I was like, oh damn, like people were saying some shit that actually like would not fly elsewhere.
That's interesting. Like, because that really wouldn't, like here, like in a beautiful way, like no one really cares. Like no one cares. So like me being mixed myself, like you said something there that was quite interesting, like never being sort of Latin, like I was never Latin enough for even my own family and even my Latin friends, but I'm never like
100%
white enough for like the geezers that do you know what I mean, that I grew up on my estate with. So like I think every mixed race person probably goes through them kind of difficulties. And
it can be weird. I mean, my familia in Chile, they always like, they'll introduce me to their friends as their English cousin. And I find that so interesting because here, I'm Latin American here in this country. Like everyone's like, wow, you're Latin, and over there, I'm English. It's like, I mean, obviously, I'm super proud to be either one in each country, but it's like you never really quite anything, are you? Really?
Yeah. Would you say that, like, in terms of songwriting and music, that is influenced, like even sonically, or your style of songwriting, like being like mixed race and having those experiences? Because like listening to your music, and I think we spoke off here, like your sound is not the typical sound I get, like I come across, like, in terms of like, because I'm always trying to look for like a UK based Latin artist and what's fresh, what's new. I'm always trying to listen to people, but because when I heard your music, I was like, this is quite cool because it's different. Like it's different to what I've heard in terms of an artist in that realm. So would you say, like, was it like your parents that being from 2 different places, was it different, a lot of different music in your household? Because a lot of artists they say, oh, you know, it was like I listened to all the main Latin genres like salsa, bachata, and that influenced my music. But I guess for you, it must have been even more of a mix. And
honestly, like in terms of bachata, like I couldn't even tell you a song, honestly. I've got a few like sort of reggaeton numbers. I'm really feeling the Bad Bunny album at the moment, but reggaeton for me is like not what I normally listen to. Like I listen to like funk, like I love funk, whether that's like 80s, new funk. I love like French stuff quite a lot, which is really random. But obviously, I told you earlier, I work for a French company, and when I went over to Paris, they were all just like, "How do you even know this kind of music?"
But they're like really big on like funk music.
Yeah, like new funk. They call it like French touch. It's like a specific like kind of genre of like super funky electro kind of vibes. And obviously like Kaytranada, like when Kaytranada rose up, like. But my dad introduced me to Kaytranada when I was 16. So my dad is just like, he is on it. Like he has the best music taste I've ever known.
Did you care about it then?
About Kaytranada?
Like when your dad showed you,
oh my God. Fair. I remember the first time I listened to that album, we were like driving he picked me up from Manchester Airport, and we drove down south to my grandma's house. And he played me 2 albums. It was 99.9% by Kaytranada. And the other one was Ego Death by The Internet. I don't know if you've heard that album.
Yeah.
And those 2 albums, first time I ever heard them when I was 16, and I was just like blown away. I was like, crazy. What? And then that was it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the music that I grew up on, was like very much hip hop, kind of like. And you know what? I think it's because like my dad, to him, like he really resonated with a lot of like sort of like music from the Black community, because the things that he was going through at the same time were very similar, like dealing with a lot of like racism and kind of like growing up as he was a refugee. He came here as a refugee. So it's kind of like a very similar upbringing. So it was like, well, I don't resonate with the Stone Roses, with Oasis. It's all going on at the time. I resonate with like a lot of hip hop. So that's what he listened to growing up, and that's like now what I kind of listen to as well.
And it makes a lot of sense. Like if you look at like the history of hip hop, and like, let me word this carefully. I don't think like if you look at the history of a lot of Puerto Ricans were very like involved in that movement. A lot of Puerto Rican poets, and I don't think it's highlighted enough. Like if you look at the history of the Bronx and that kind of stuff, like Latin and Black people really kind of birthed that culture, and like,
100%,
we're in harmony. Whereas in certain spaces and these days you see a lot of divide. But I think if you look at the history of things, like everyone was pretty much happy families. But,
definitely.
But yes, so going back to present day now, and so you just released the first song off your EP.
I have, yes.
Rough.
Yeah.
And you said it was around the 2-year mark to create the whole project.
Yeah, to create the whole project. Yeah.
So talk to me about Rough. Are all the tracks on your EP produced by the same person?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Shout out to Liam and Ollie. I don't even know if they're listening, because I did send this. So I told them I was going to be on the radio, but who knows if they're listening. But they're brilliant guys. Met Liam around 2 years ago, and then he's like kind of like the producer, and then Ollie is just like an absolute mastermind on the piano and keys and all sorts of random stuff. And so all of us together was really, really good. But I guess like it's been a real process trying to find producers that really, really understand and speak to my vision, because like I'm coming as somebody who wants to make something hella funky, but also like a little bit of Latin flair. I mean, you won't necessarily hear that in Rough, but in one of the later songs that we'll play, I'm singing in Spanish and English, and there's like little sort of Latin-y kind of flares going on. But trying to find something new. Like I don't really feel like there's a space for that in the UK, if I'm honest. Like I know people say, oh yeah, you've got Kali Uchis, she's R&B, like she's not doing anything funky. Like where's the funky stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I think you mentioned something really important there, and I speak about it to loads of artists, is finding that key producer. Like I've met artists who are very talented, but they quite haven't like met the producer, and they'll make a body of work and be like, I don't want to release this now, it doesn't represent me, because it is really hard to find that person or those group of people that can share that same vision, because it's very hard. It is hard as a producer to sort of understand what's going on in someone's brain and kind of put that sonically. So the fact that you met those people is a huge blessing. But cool. Well, this is Rough. If you just tuned in, you're listening to D-Kel, the Club of Vibes, Voices Radio. I'm just passing a drink.
Thank you.
That was Rough. I'm still here with my guest. So one question I wanted to ask that I literally just asked you permission to ask just now is, so you said you moved down to London, like you went to uni in London, and you work in the music industry. You actually work for one of my favorite indie labels. I think I said like one of my favorite artists released on that label.
Which artist?
Ghost Poet.
Yeah,
it was a couple of years ago now.
We did talk about. I remember you messaging me about this.
He's like very alternative, like
really,
but amazing artist. But so my main question was that the vision before you was an artist to work in the music industry, or did you think actually this might help me with my artistry in terms of the business side of things? Because a lot of artists that I meet just want to be artists, and they get managers, or they don't really care enough about the industry stuff. So has it always been side by side, or was one passion more than the other?
I mean, making music has always been like my number one passion for sure. But I think what happened was I came out of uni, I was unemployed for 6 months. I was very sad. I was quite stressed out. And then I was like, cool, well, if I can't make it in the music industry as an artist, then I might as well try and work in the music industry. So I did loads of internships. And this was in the era when we could have like, do you remember Kickstart schemes?
Yeah.
The government things. I basically got a internship working for PS. Shout out PS. Doing a Kickstart internship, which was then led into a full-time job. And then obviously I've left that now and I now work for Idol. So yeah, I mean, like I kind of I don't want to say I like fell into it, because honestly it's pretty hard to like get a job in the music industry. Like you have to be quite on it. And I think what really helped me with PS was I knew a lot of the artists like personally before I joined. So
cool.
when it came to the interview, I was like, hey, I know so-and-so and so-and-so. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be around the bush. Like a lot of the music industry is like, it can be who you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I came into the music industry not having any, like I'm not a Nepo baby. Like I don't know anyone who worked in the music industry before me, like professionally. Of course, like I knew loads of artists and stuff, but yeah, like I didn't have like a leg up from mum and dad. I just did loads and loads of internships. I did like Cobalt one, I did like a Universal one, I did like loads and loads. And PS was just the first place that wanted to take me on.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like in any creative industries, it's quite difficult to get a break in, but the music one, because the whole world wants to do it.
Yeah.
And two, it is very hard. But I think you brought up a good point there. Is like a lot of the time those labels want you to, the first question is, are you familiar with our roster? Like, do you know what we do?
Yeah.
And obviously the fact that you knew kind of artists they had and whatnot.
Definitely.
So you also working in that kind of in that environment, but also being an artist, have you felt that you've learned about, I mean, the answer would be yes, that you've learned about distribution and campaigns, but like, have you learned one or two things that you can implement into like your stuff? Because obviously they're like businesses that have the means to do certain things that you might not necessarily can. But I guess being around that, one, have you learned stuff that you can implement into your own work? But also, it must be pretty inspiring. So even when like you have like low morale, not want to do music, the fact that every day you work in the music industry, I guess that can either go two ways, like hate this, or actually today was a sick day at work and you've seen something from another artist that you've done in your work that is inspirational for your own work.
Yeah. Honestly, like I'm quite surprised that I'm not sick of working in the music industry being like, oh my God, why are these artists doing so well and I'm not? But I mean, it just really apparently is just something that I'm like absolutely obsessed with and I love. But I mean, going back to your original question on whether like it's helped me, 1000%, like I know, because I specifically work in editorial, so that means that I'm like pitching artists' music on Spotify for Artists, Apple, whatever. I do that every second of every day. So when it came to my own music, like I know exactly what I'm doing basically. Yeah. So it's been really, really helpful in that regard. Like I basically know how like a campaign should work. But it's a sad reality is that it's not just knowing how things work. It's having to be really fucking good on socials. And like, social media is just still a minefield to me because I do my best with it, but like, you just have to be on it every day. And it's actually really a lot of work to like consistently think of things to upload, like TikTok every day. So try and do that alongside like working in studio, like doing things like this, like working my full-time job. Like that probably is the hardest thing for me because I know what an ISRC code, I know what a UPC is. Like I know all the metadata about music. I know how the music industry works in the back end. I know that a lot of artists that you think have blown up on TikTok actually have had 30K put behind them, that kind of stuff. But it's the social media part that's really difficult, like being marketable, having a brand, that kind of thing is difficult.
Yeah, so my last guest, I had Pablo Two-Tone here with his artist Anna Maria, and I think before she even like released music, like she was big on the TikTok thing. Now she's slowly releasing music, and Pablo Two-Tone's very clued up, and that's her manager. So and it was about a similar thing. That would you say though, like having a huge following on social media, and this might be an unfair question, but because one thing I've always wondered, because I'm in like an indie punk band, so we don't like we could do social media. It's I don't know.
It's not really your brand.
Yeah, we'd rather just play live, and that's in that scene. That's how kind of you get more, like you get further by playing gigs, and then you get a festival gig, and you know you'll get a few followers on social media and da. But in terms of like I guess singer-songwriter vibes, would you say like? So my question is, how do you, if there's someone out there that's huge on TikTok? Because I've always wondered this, how does that transition into like listeners on Spotify and someone, like, how do you connect that to them viewing your music video? Because I've always wondered, like there's some people out there that have huge TikTok followings and I'm like, how does that translate to your headline show? Because I've seen it where huge artists online and then I've been to the headline show and it's like the numbers don't add up. Obviously there's a lot of factors, they could be worldwide, different parts of the country, but I'm talking about stupid numbers. So you would have thought a fraction of that, if they're based in the UK or wherever they're based, it would be representative in like real life. I guess.
Yeah. That's funny, actually. I've not really come across that, if I'm honest. Like, I'm sure, as you'll know, there's a wonderful girl, Sophie Castillo, who I've been following for a very long time, and like, she has been at it for so long. Her music's fucking sick.
She was one of my first guests. She was literally my first guest.
Oh my, and you know what? She is so lovely as well. And obviously she blew up, I think not even a year ago, maybe just over a year ago.
Yeah.
And that was like so well deserved. I was so glad to see that, because it's like, number one, somebody from our community who's smashing it. She also doesn't just do reggaeton, which is super cool. And I think that like that is like so well deserved, where people are actually tapping in, like, you've got a fan base there. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different reasons that people can blow up. And especially like if you're a woman, sometimes you wonder, like, am I just getting views because men like the way that I look, or like
for female artists, it's always kind of like that thing. Like, I was actually reading an article here by Ana Bolines, who's a Honduran artist that's based in the UK, and she was saying a similar thing, really, that like she doesn't want to be sexualized, and she makes reggaeton music, and she's trying to change that kind of that way of things and songwriting and the message she puts in her songs. And it was an interesting read, actually. But yeah, big up Sophie Castillo, like obviously doing very well at the moment.
Yeah, so much love to her.
And I feel quite proud in a way, because like I saw like, because she was my first guest, and even before that, like, she won't mind me saying this, so she was into like rock music and a bit of an indie girl. But for some reason, I just saw the vision from a very long time ago. I was like, this girl here, like, I was telling people, believe me, like, trust me. Okay, she doesn't do the reggaeton stuff, it's not very commercial, but believe me, this girl is going to go so far. Yeah. And it's nice to see it like happen.
Yeah,
really.
man, I think she's off to Miami next week or something.
Yeah, she opened up for J Balvin last year.
Very cool.
So yeah, big up her.
Yeah, and I feel like that's important for us. You know, I think it's important to see people from our community that are like, again, as much as I love the people that are doing the reggaeton, like, it's so important for us to see people that are not just doing like the reggaeton thing. And
because you want to show the range of genres that
100%.
That our community can do.
And she's like, I don't know whether she's born here, but raised here. Like, she's like super British, and it's like, well, she's bringing in lots of different like elements into her music. The bilingual stuff, I feel like that's super cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is a good point, because I think one of my frustrations is that, and I play a lot of reggaeton, I play a lot of Latin drill, I play a lot of Latin hip hop, but I will play something that's a bit different and alternative, because that's not just all of us. Like, do you know what I mean? There's a whole range of music here. I'm
chatting like I don't like reggaeton, by the way. I do quite like. I don't know if you've ever heard of. There's this really cool duo called Paco Amoroso and Cartiel. I think it with the 7. You should listen to their album. Oh my god, I was floored by it. I've been putting it all over my socials. It's insane.
I'm gonna check it out.
I'm gonna
check it out.
Cool.
So the next song I'm gonna play is called Stuck.
Yes.
So tell me a bit about that one.
So this one has probably got the most meaning on the EP. It comes out on Friday, and it's featuring the wonderful Jamal Buchanan, who is like an up and coming. He raps, but I would say it's kind of like sort of spoken wordy, like singer songwriter stuff. Okay. He's got such a cool voice that I really like resonate with it hard. Also, we just reached out to him, and I was like, I want this guy. Like, I like his voice. Nice. I want him on the EP, and he was just like, yeah, he was down for it. He came for a session, like, got his verse down, and I mean, the song is mostly about like. It's a little bit about being an independent artist and how difficult that can be, and like, you know, waking up and coming to the studio and spending 8 hours in the studio and coming home and being like, fuck, I'm shit at music. Yeah. And then waking up the next day and being like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And like the amount of like work and effort that that goes into it, like having like one person listen to it on SoundCloud, like that kind of stuff. And then also like navigating your 20s and this whole idea that like you're supposed to have everything together. Like, I'm from a very small town in the north, like people there are getting married and having kids, and I'm like, whoa, like, am I supposed to be super good in my career? I'm also supposed to have really good skincare, but also I'm kind of 4 years close to 30, so I should put collagen in my tea. And it's a lot of pressure, you know, being in your 20s, and you're supposed to also enjoy it as well, because it's the best time of your life. And so
I think that's quite interesting you say that, 'cause I have a conversation with a friend of mine who's a musician, and I always say to him, like, it's mad, because he does shows across Europe and does a lot of shows here, so he's got quite a bit of followings, but he lives like you and me. He has a 9-to-5 job, he's got bills to pay, you know, has a partner, and it's just weird because the perspective on social media and his followers, I've been with him at shows, and you know, like, he'll have a conversation with like someone who supports his music, and it's just the assumption that like his life is so like like he's made it. He doesn't have to worry about the things that an
Really?
average person does. And I don't think people truly understand, like, in any form of creativity, whether it's music, whether it's acting, whether it's anything, like the hustle that goes in, like the amount of hours that go in, like the finished product, yes, it looks nice, like the Spotify tune and the video, it all looks cool, but like the amount of like tears, sweat, frustration, arguments that go in, I don't think, as creators, there's not, we don't get enough credit for.
It is a lot. And I mean, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there that are doing the same thing as me, which is so lovely because we've got a community. But again, you got like this thing where it's like, well, what makes me different? What makes me stand out from the crowd? Because actually, like, if you're on TikTok, you see independent artists like trying to, like, you know, flog a dead horse with their like new music and stuff every day, and I'm doing the exact same. Like, you know, I'm on, you know, I'm trying my best to do the TikTok thing, but there's just so many of us. So yes, basically the song's about that.
Yeah, and ironically, it's called Stuck.
And it's called Stuck.
Either get stuck or make a song. Yes, that was Stuck. Like I was saying, I think that's my favourite of the EP.
Thanks so much.
Yes. So talking about the EP, what is the name of the EP?
The EP is called Vertigo Dreams.
Vertigo Dreams. And when does it come out?
It comes out on the 7th of March.
Amazing. In terms of like rollout, is there going to be visuals for certain songs? Yeah,
I hope so. I mean, honestly, I was thinking about that on the train here. I was like, God, I need to actually like think about some visuals for the focus track. Which is in Spanish and in English. It's called Pensamientos.
Yeah, that's the next one I'm gonna play you.
Yeah. I'm really, really excited. Like, I've got an EP launch party planned at Peckham Audio. You should come if you're about.
When is it?
On the day, 7th of March.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, yes. On the Friday. I will be putting that on my socials on Sunday, but I've kind of already told people it's happening, so it's happening. And I mean, I guess from now between then, I'm starting to work with a couple of new producers, which is really exciting. Got like some shoots and stuff and bits and bobs, really. Like, I'm hoping that I can get some more stuff in the pipeline, but yeah.
And we spoke about, you know, your upbringing, Latin influence, Latin music. In terms of the music going forward, how important is it to have Latin representation in your music? And I'm not wording that like there's a wrong answer or a right answer, because a lot of people probably say, like, I'm waving the flag, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think, you know, if we all represent ourselves, it's a part of you. You don't necessarily have to, like, do you know what I mean?
To be honest, I think I could wave the flag a little bit more. Like, there's not very many of us in the UK. Like, I know there are Chilenos, but for me specifically, I'm a child of the Pinochet regime, so I think there's probably around about 6,000 to 8,000 of us children of the Pinochet regime.
Definitely a story to be told.
That's a whole that's like politics and stuff, but it is super interesting. So you know, I'm very, very proud of my heritage. I'm super proud of like my family coming here and fighting. It's a little bit different from sort of other people's whether like you know, I love my Latino community, but sometimes people have come here to study and that kind of thing, and you know, for mine it's a story of struggle, unfortunately. Well, not necessarily unfortunately, because I think I've gained a lot from that, like, you know. But yeah, I think I definitely could be waving the flag a little bit more. Like, I want to make it sort of still my thing, like still very funky, but my Spanish, for example, is not very good. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to come with, like, at some point I would love to have a completely Spanish song, but right now, like, that is a little bit difficult because I can speak Spanish like conversationally. But yeah, I've not been, I was bilingual when I was like a very, very young child.
I think it's when you're younger kind of thing. So that's it. So like, so would you say that you're going to try and incorporate more of that Spanish
100%. I mean, my tata, he's always saying to me, Rayen, why do you not do the traditional Latin American thing? He's like, thick accent. And I feel like he always listens to my songs and he's like my harshest critic. It's so funny. He'll listen to my songs and he'll be like, oh, what, like, where is the charango? Have you ever heard of a charango?
No.
It's basically a very traditional, I think they might have it in Argentina, but definitely in Chile. And it's basically like a 12-string, looks like a ukulele.
Oh, wow.
12-string sort of like mini little ukulele thing. With the back is shaped like an armadillo, so it's like really curved.
Nice.
and it's beautiful, really nice, and that kind of like incorporated with maybe some like sort of pan pipes. I'd love to like get those kind of things in my music for sure.
Very specific production. These
I haven't really like figured out how I would do that with like the funky stuff, but it's definitely a work in progress.
8-bar breakdown. And,
yeah, definitely.
Nice. So this is Pensamientos.
My dad is literally ringing me.
Yes, people, that was Rayen with Pensamientos. Rayen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much for having me.
No, it's been all good. And so you mentioned, again, remind everyone, when is the launch party?
Launch party is on the 7th of March, and that is the date of the release of my EP, Vertigo Dreams. Yeah.
Well, yeah, congratulations on that accomplishment. It must
Thank you.
Feel great. I can imagine.
Yes, definitely. After 2 years, I'm like, yes.
So I'm guessing you're performing the whole EP.
I will be, yes, live, yeah.
Exciting stuff. Where can people listen to you, catch you?
You can listen to me on all, I was going to say DSPs, and then I realised that that's such a music industry
no
word.
one's going to know what it means.
Streaming services, Apple Music, Amazon, literally all of them. And it's just Rayen, Rayen. Usually I'm actually the first person that comes up, apart from Ray got really big in the last like 2 years, and now everyone's like, oh yeah, Ray comes up first. I'm like, God's sake.
Fair enough. Before we play our last song, is there anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. Just thanks so much for having me. It's been really, really lovely. I think this is like the first time that I've spoken on the radio for like 2 years, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Fair play.
It's lovely.
Okay, I have one question.
Yes.
I used to ask this and then I never had time, and I don't think I have time now, but I'm going to ask it. What is something that everyone should either listen to, read, or watch this month or soon?
Listen to, read, or watch this month. I'm gonna go with what I was telling you earlier. Listen to an amazing song called Cosas Ricas by Paco Amoroso and Cartier, but that's with a 7 instead of a T. That whole album, Baño Maria, is just insane. It incorporates like so many elements of reggaeton, pop, funk. Like, it's sick, and they're Argentinian. They're super cool. Yeah, they're blowing up now.
How humble! I would have just said, yeah, listen to my EP. But
oh yeah, that as well. Sorry.
I'm joking. I'm playing. It's funny when I ask that, and I always say that. It's like, why don't you plug your thing? Well, no, you have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they've heard like 3-4 of my tracks. They're probably sick of me already.
No, you sold it to them. They're gonna check it out. 7th of March. Check it out. We're going out with this one. This is Little Sims. Hello, hi.